Old man George, he was kind of the stalwart around here.
94-year-old A.C. Bible remembers one of Cedar Park's original families, the Clucks. George and Harriet Cluck settled in 1873 on land near the spring and creek at what is now Buttercup Creek and Bell Boulevards. They named it Running Brushy. Nearby, other families, including Doc Crumley and his second wife, Lulu, were making the area home. Martha Crumley Smalley is Doc Crumley's great-great-granddaughter.
He named that area Buttercup, that is just below Cypress Creek.
That community is now underwater at the dam near Avery Ranch and Bell Boulevards, but at the time it was bustling. The Austin and Northwest Railroad was rolling through the area. The Clucks sold the railroad this land near the tracks at Brushy Creek Road with the restriction that it have a park. The Clucks' son Emmett, at the left in this photo, lived next door. A stone path around a garden leading up to his house is still there. The park had similar paths and landscaping. Emmett named it Cedar Park for the cedar trees and the park.
And people would come out on Sundays from Austin, ride the train, have a picnic, and then go back home.
Betty Henry now owns the land. The original railroad section foreman's house is still standing. The railroad continued to play a major role in daily life in Cedar Park. Mr. Bible recalls the ice house at left in this old photo.
There was a place there that they unloaded ice, big blocks of ice off a train, but they had a slide. They slide it off in there and into sawdust. They used to bring something to put it in, like sawdust or cottonseed hulls, and they would keep it till they got home for the iced tea and whatnot.
After a hard day's work,
We were called the Cedar Choppers, and because mostly it was a community where they sold cedar post, or they had the quarry. That's the only way to make a living other than a farmer and farmers and ranchers.
time stood still, it seemed, over the next 50 years. Horses, wagons, and even Model Ts remain common modes of transportation along Cedar Park's dirt and gravel roads. Preston Carlton describes what is now roughly 1431.
It was a gravel road, and it was here, there, and going through there. It was crooked as it could be.
Buzz Henry traveled Brushy Creek Road in a most unusual fashion.
Well, I'd ride that 80-in Ford tractor all the way up Brushy Creek Road and leave it there, and then catch a ride back after practice and drive it all the way down Brushy Creek Road and never meet a car.
That was about to change.
He just had a strong belief that this area was going to grow.
In the 1960s, Danny Bell's father, Kenneth Bell, and friend Don Webster helped create the Cedar Park Water Corporation, their greatest accomplishment.
That was a big deal, getting the water out here.
So was the Cedar Park Volunteer Fire Department, formed in 1972.
We had a grocery store there, Henry's Drive-In, and Buzz was running it, and he was the fire chief, so he had to, when the alarm went off that was on the top of the store, his wife had to run with the baby over to take the store so he could go get the fire truck and go to the fire, because most of the firemen worked in Austin.
But Austin started getting closer and closer.
Austin was strip annexing out to 620, and the handwriting was on the wall.
Bonnie Merrill was one of hundreds of locals who supported a petition for Cedar Park to incorporate. And on February 24th, 1973, we became a city. Merrill, along with Buzz Henry, Don Webster, John Dixon, and Sam Blair, became the city's first alderman. They were sworn in with Mayor Kenneth Bell outside Shellnuts grocery store in Cedar Park Plaza.
So we didn't have a home, a city hall.
Until the first City Hall opened on the side of a feed store. Nancy Faulkner was the first city secretary. She started for free and ended up staying 26 years. She became a multitasker, to say the least.
They'd call me and tell me to get out there and get that fire truck warmed up so they could go to a fire, and I'd run out there, jump up in that fire truck and get it going.
Through the 70s and 80s, Cedar Park remained mostly rural, as seen in this video of Highway 183 Bell Boulevard, shot in 1987.
Very sparsely populated. And from 183 you saw an occasional service station.
And of course, a Dairy Queen.
We felt like we had arrived when we got the Dairy. That was the first place that we had where we could get ice and a Coke.
Lifelong resident Troy Storm recalls the first H-E-B.
That made the grocery shopping trips a lot easier. You weren't having to drive down, what we considered into Austin or into town to, do your grocery shopping.
Pauline Lamb traveled from Austin in 1980 to open the city's first library.
We were basically, the main entertainment in town at that time.
Still, lifelong resident and Cedar Park senior utility engineer T.J. Dawkins says he found plenty to do as a kid.
I mean, we just had a blast. It was just, just had a lot of fun. Like, just a new neighborhood being built, and we'd cross under those box culverts at 183 and kind of go wander over in the block house and while it was under construction.
Then in 1987, 1431 was cut through to Round Rock, truly opening Cedar Park for business and a population boom.
I still own a lot of property around it. The Holiday Inn Express here.
I think the biggest accomplishment is this new City Hall.
The Veterans Memorial Park happens to be, that's my absolute favorite place.
Danny Bell says his father, who envisioned all of this, would still be surprised.
Oh, he'd be blown away. I've laughed and said a few times that if my mother or my dad, either one, came back now, they'd get lost in Cedar Park.
One thing that's not lost, Cedar Park's charm.
It's still got that feel to it where it's not overwhelming. We're getting more stores, more sit-down restaurants, which is awesome, but it still feels like a good small community, where you can wave to people.
It's grown and we've gotten a lot larger population, a lot more economic growth out here, but it still seems like it's held on to that small town feel. I would say it's definitely a great place to raise a family.